Hello everyone, welcome to Homework Help. If you find the videos useful, please subscribe to the channel. So in this video, we'll solve these two problems based on the concepts of polynomial functions. So let's get started with the one on the left side. In this problem, we have to identify whether each is a polynomial function and justify our answer. Now, polynomial function is a function in which the variable or the x has a whole number exponent. Whole number is like 0 or positive numbers, but not decimal or fractions. So let's get started. So in part A, we are given p at x equals cos x. Now as you know, cosine is a trig function. So it is not a polynomial function. So now in part B, we are given h at x equals negative 7x. Now here the exponent of x is 1, which is a whole number. So this is a polynomial function. Now in part C, we are given f at x equals 2 times x to the power 4. So 4 is a whole number. So that's why this is a polynomial function. Now in part D, we are given y equals 3 times x to the power 5 minus 2x cubed plus x squared minus 1. All of these x terms have whole number exponents. So that's why this function is polynomial. Now in part E, so the variable x is in the exponent. Now, so this is not a polynomial function. This is an exponential function because the variable is in the exponent. So there's a very important concept you need to understand and memorize. So in part F, the exponent on the variable x is a negative number. It is not a whole number. So that's why part F is not a polynomial function. So it's very important to understand and memorize the definition of a polynomial function. So now we can answer the second question. So it states state the degree and the leading coefficient of each polynomial. So let's start with part A. So the degree of a polynomial function is the highest exponent on the variable or the x. So in part A, the highest exponent is 4. So the degree is equal to 4. Now the leading coefficient is basically the coefficient of the term with the highest exponent on the x or the variable. In this case, the leading coefficient is 5 because that's the coefficient of that term. So I'll use LC for leading coefficient. So the leading coefficient is 5. So now we can do part B. So in part B, we are given y equals negative x plus 2. So here there is an x term and the exponent on the x term is that invisible 1 because we don't write 1 as an exponent. And that's the highest power on x in this function. So the degree here is equal to 1. And now the leading coefficient is the coefficient of that term. So in this case, the coefficient of that term is negative 1. So there is an invisible 1 because we don't write 1 as a coefficient. So now we can do part C. So in part C, there is only one term and the exponent on the variable x is 2. So the degree is equal to 2. And the coefficient of that term is 8. So the leading coefficient is 8. So now we can do part D. So in part D, we are given a cubic function. So the highest power on the variable is 3. So that's why the degree of this polynomial function is 3. So the leading coefficient is the coefficient of the term in which the variable has the highest power, and in this case the leading coefficient is negative 1 over 4. So there is this invisible 1 with x, but we don't write 1 as a coefficient. So that's why the leading coefficient is negative 1 over 4. So now we can do part E. So in part E, we are given a constant function. So in this case, there is an x term here with 5, but that x term has an exponent 0. So we can also rewrite this as y equals negative 5 times x to the power 0, and x to the power 0 is equal to 1, so it becomes negative 5. So in this case, the degree is 0. And the leading coefficient is negative 5. So now we can do part F. Now in part F, there are two variable terms, and the highest exponent on the variable is 2. So that becomes the degree of this polynomial function. So the degree is equal to 2. And now the leading coefficient is the coefficient of the term with the highest power on the x, and in this case it's 1. So there is this invisible 1, but we don't write 1 as a coefficient. I hope you'll find this video useful. Please share it, like it, and subscribe to Homework Help. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye.